Hello, this is Cryptolyze. I hope you are well. Today we're going to talk about goals. We're going to talk about objectives, but not necessarily price objectives, nor not crypto objectives, but we're going to talk about objectives, your own objectives. And we will generally come back to the important points for success, whether in investment, whether in trading, whether in entrepreneurship. I'm going to share with you a little bit of what I experienced, what happened, what went wrong, how we find ourselves, and how we can move forward. You will quickly understand that you hold all the cards. It starts right away. So I will try to answer several questions. What is an investor? What is a trader? Or what is an entrepreneur? What do they have in common? And it is a bit of this reflection that I am going to lead you into by sharing with you some moments that I was able to experience and leading you into a reflection. The goal is not to make you change completely. But in any case, to make you realize that there are a certain number of things that you can already do on your side. And if only 1% of the people who listen to me do it, I think that I would already be very happy, because that's really the main thing. And that's what I try to convey at the level of my channel through the work that I do daily on the analyses, whether on the thoughts that I have or on the Discord that I created, in which overall the community, which there's a great community that helps each other, that is there to work together. And it is precisely this idea that I want to share with you. Overall, what is an investor? What is a trader? What is an entrepreneur? What do they have in common? This is where the reflection is really interesting, because for me, an investor is the representation of someone who wants to grow capital or a source of work, whatever, whether it is a small capital, a large capital, or a cash flow, regardless of the differentiation that we will have over time. He's really someone who wants to build value over time. And that's why I have these graphs in front of me, because you will see that we will often be linked to these graphs. It doesn't matter. This is the total market cap, excluding BTC and Ethereum. And it doesn't matter. It could be a classic total. It doesn't matter much. The representation we have for me is really, in fact, these curves, these elements, because it's the representation of time on value, okay? We have the representation of time, which actually evolves from left to right, in which we will have the valuation of our time at the ordinate level. And this is where it is very interesting, since overall the investor is someone who will always be in this idea of temporalization, in very little valuation overall. Case, which is going to be more in a form like this. It's really the principle of the investor, very slow at the beginning, then it accelerates. But the notion of time is really very important. Okay, so that the representation of the trader is more the short-term valuation in a form of speculation. So we will value the volatility, therefore, that is to say the speed of change of the price of the prices in a very short time. This volatility, we are going to value it over time. It is the representation for me of the trader. And precisely, we are going to have something which is going to be more in a half temporality, in which we are going to have something which is going to be more like that, but always in a much shorter time frame. Although the trader himself always has a notion of temporality, because trading, investing is I have my planning, I follow my strategy, I have something that is settled, and I know that my goals are in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. The trader has a short-term stock trading strategy, which will allow him to generate returns in the long term. And precisely the representation of the trader is through that. That is to say that we will have short-term actions which will take us in time, always in time. What is the fact of smooth out time? I mean, we can have months that are negative, months that are positive. We will actually smooth out our performances over time, so we will have something that will be more like that in these elements, where we will have many more drawdowns, but we will have an average which will perhaps be much more risky, and always within this notion of temporality. And its short-term strategy in itself also represents temporality, because it means knowing when we act and how we act for how long. And it's always this notion of time that comes into play. And we remember this notion of time, well, because it will come back later. And it's the other buyer, for his part, it's a different representation. It is a valorization of time spent, whether one's own or others, and a valorization of a know-how, which is the representation of time. Because what is know-how? It is a skill that one has acquired through a transfer of skills, which itself is in fact experience. When we look at the companions in craftsmanship, it is the fact of making 7 companies, therefore 7 craftsmen, learning from their experience to create one's own work. and precisely having passed oneself as a master craftsman and being able to validate his companionship. It is the consolidation of all the experience of others, implying the consolidation of the time spent by others refining something. And entrepreneurship is exactly that. It is, in fact, the experience, the valuing of people's time and the time of others. And this notion of time comes back systematically. And that's why these three profiles are a bit identical for me in a certain sense, although they have temporalities which are different, objectives which are different, whatever. But above all, it is the valuation of time. And understand that time is of the essence. Time is important. Your time is important. That's the only thing we can't give you back, okay? The time you invest in something, you cannot say, I will reimburse you. It is something, it has a price, it has a cost. And take into consideration that everyone has a time which is defined more or less shorter, depending on his life, whatever, or what happens to him in life. But we have a defined time, and understand that this is something that you must value yourself. Because you have to use your time. You must use it whether in your work, in your family, in your hobbies, in what you like to do, but also in yourself. Understand that it is very important to be able to invest in yourself and to invest that time in the work you do, in understanding the things around you, in the passion that drives you. No matter what you want to do, the time you have to invest in yourself. And it's the same principle as in investing. When you are an investor, you value time. The more time passes, the more exponential it is. That is to say, the more things you learn, the easier it will be to learn. The more things you know, the more capacity you will have to be able to go further in your knowledge and so on. Knowledge is something exponential. Knowledge is something that is valued over time. The sooner we start, the sooner we are able to progress. It's really important for me to make you understand that, because generally we very quickly fall into the cliches of it's simple, in fact, everything is simple, or everything is complicated. We have both. That is to say that either everything is simple, and at that moment I understood, I stopped learning and I let it slide, or even the other, it's too complicated, I can't do it, I don't have the time, I don't give myself the means, and so at that moment I leave it aside. So for me, both actually are something that is complicated because everything is possible, everything is in your hands, and everything is about the goal. You need to define your goals. Everyone has their own objective. And here I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. I'm not going to talk about my objectives, but I'm going to talk to you about what I was able to experience precisely in relation to that. But it is already important to understand that you must set your objectives, whether in terms of time, whether in real objective, whether in investment, whether in trading, whether in entrepreneurship, and you will see that from the moment you have. These goals will be much easier to live with. And the objectives can evolve. They are not objectives which are fixed. They are things which can grow with you gradually. And this is even what I would advocate. And I personally have very big goals. I have always had very big goals since I was very little. Since I have always had this desire to want to undertake, to want to build things. It's something I've been doing since I was quite young. I have sold, I have liquidated companies, I own companies, I am in the process of setting up new ones. It's something that's part of my DNA. Entrepreneurship for me goes hand in hand with investor representation and the trader. And I could even say that I'm a little straight because I went through the phases of trading in which I really worked, trading from 2010 to 2014, in which I invested a lot of time, a lot of money, in which I had a deep reflection on whether it was something that was for me, whether it was something in which I absolutely wanted to live continuously, whether it was something I could see myself doing in, which I could enjoy in the long term. And all this thinking changed my goals. And in fact, that's where it's important, is that goals allow you to know where you are at what time and to be able to refocus. I realized that what I loved most in everything I did was really undertaking. It was the fact of going further, the fact of continuing to learn, because the fact of undertaking is the act of confronting oneself to things that we master, but at the same time, lots of things that we don't know. And it's the principle of being able to get out of your comfort zone. I like to get out of my comfort zone. I like to go further, and I like to learn new things. And that's where I very quickly understood something. It's that talent is one thing, but it's not everything, and it's important, and we have to understand that. Talent accounts for just a small fraction, a mere 10% of the overall equation for achieving success. This applies to various areas such as investment, trading, entrepreneurship, and even everyday life. Personally, I believe that the key factors that truly matter are hard work and unwavering motivation. When you are able to inspire yourself and put in the necessary effort, you will discover that you possess the potential to accomplish absolutely anything. And I even understood that my personal talent was not trading, nor analysis, nor anything that could be included, nor technology, nor development. It's not a talent I have. On the other hand, I had the capacity to work 20 hours a day, to work 7 days a week for very, very, very long periods. And this ability, I can consider that it is a form of talent. In any case, it is what I consider to be my talent on this, because it allowed me to be able to do many more things and to be able to live several lives in one and to move forward very quickly on all the points that I wanted to move forward. And that's something I always try to do. And I like it because it's something that when you learn, when you start reading, listening to podcasts about successful people who are talented entrepreneurs, whether it's Elon Musk, you can like his personality or not. But we cannot deny that he is someone who manages to do things. No matter what he says, he manages to do them, and he makes sure to get there. He's the guy who still managed to put down a rocket, even though everyone told him it was impossible, and all in the case of a rocket. Voila. A widespread belief among entrepreneurs and individuals is that achieving success is not merely dependent on one's talent, but rather on their capacity to exert diligent effort. This viewpoint is widely embraced by accomplished individuals in the corporate realm who contend that devoting a substantial amount of time and energy to their work can substantially enhance their efficacy and output. Working more than someone who works 50 hours a week implies that you will be operating at half the pace. Conversely, if you work twice as fast, it means you will be able to accomplish more in the same amount of time. It is crucial to acknowledge the significance of time in this context. I am not advocating for taking on excessive workloads. Instead, I am reflecting on my own situation. I am not urging you to exert yourself, but rather encouraging you to take a moment to assess your objectives. What do I want in a year? In 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years? What do I want? Where do I want to go? What do I want to do? How? And then put in place a plan during which you will work so that you have the elements to be able to get there. And it's really essential. It's really important. And I want you to understand that you are in charge of this. There's no one else there to tell you, do this. No, you are in charge of doing this. Crypto, and that's why I like to have this representation here, is that crypto is a very strong representation of that, where we have been spoiled with access to our money with the banks, and crypto has given us this possibility again with the adage, not your kid, not your coin. Overall, what does that mean? This means that we are owners. We have the possibility on a ledger, on a wallet, whatever, to own our money, whatever. Something that has value, an asset, which has, in fact, a capacity to change our lives. And we are in full possession of that from the moment we are on a wallet. And why wouldn't we have it in our life? In fact, we already have it. It's just that we're not aware of it and we often forget it. We're stuck in everyday life. We are stuck in debt. We are stuck in purchasing. We are stuck in the family because we have 2 children and on the side we have the studies to pay. We have the rent to pay. We say to ourselves that it's like that. We are stuck perhaps in a job that we don't like, or we are stuck in a job in which we cannot get the promotion that we want to have, and therefore we will focus on everyday elements and we will not take a step back from that. And I think that is essential. To take a step back, make a list of the goals you want, a list of actions you want to do, and that you are capable of doing, and start investing in yourself, because that's the only thing in which it will not betray you. That's the only thing you're certain of, is that when you invest in yourself, it's something that will stay. It won't be stolen from you, and it will happen. You'll always have value compared to that. And besides, if you want to work, don't hesitate to join the Discord, which is completely free, in which you have a community that works, that wants to improve, that works on the courses, which works on macroeconomics, which works on entrepreneurship, on development, on many things. Do not hesitate to join us, the link in Discord, the link in comments. But it is also important when you enter this phase, and why. Goals are important. It's about managing your emotions. And these curves are really very important. I often go around in circles, you'll see, but these curves are really very important because it is often said that market curves are the representation of the emotions of people who are reacting to the same news. And I think it's an image that is very true, which is really very true in this representation. Because in these phases of building objectives of evolution, we have ups and downs. It's the same principle when we are going to launch a company. It will perhaps work at the beginning. We will have difficulties, or even very serious difficulties. We will perhaps even be obliged to liquidate, after which we will perhaps buy a new company which will perform a little poorly at first, before reaccelerating and being above the previous company. That's exactly it, in fact. Life, entrepreneurship, trading, investment, it's the management of these emotions which are complicated, the management of what we feel in the face of adversity and facing to the complications of the world. And that's why investing in ourselves is our ability to manage the complexities and problems of the world around us and what we want to do, to absolve ourselves of blocking elements. Totally blocking, because you will have the ability to learn the necessary elements to be able to unblock the situation. And it's really important, actually, to invest in yourself, whether it's through reading, through podcasts, through time. Take the time to learn, take the time, free up that time, okay? It's not saying I don't have time, it's that you don't take the time. We always have downtime, whether it's on car journeys, public journeys, listening to a video, reading a book on investing, on trading. Why not, if you like guitar, learn a new form of guitar? It's these little things that add up. You have to progress. You may not see it right away, but over a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, you will really see the difference. And that's where you're going to really go deeper and deeper. In fact, give yourself this means of being able to progress. And that's really important for me to explain that to you. I give it a lot in the Discord. In any case, I gave it a lot. I give it a lot less because I'm on other projects at the moment, but I'm going to come back to the Discord. But we are in a dynamic where it is very important to go further and to go further for yourself. And why am I talking about emotion too? Because, for example, in investment, the fact of preparing in lateralization zones like here, which are complicated, which are really emotionally complicated zones to manage because not much happens, that we wait, we may have invested, we wait to get a return, and this notion of patience is not, in fact, natively present for us. We are rather in the tired moment. And if you have children, I think you know this. The chocolate test, you offer your child young, 3, 4, 5 years maximum, you offer him a square of chocolate, or in an hour, 2 squares of chocolate. You will see that he will take the square of chocolate straight away, because we are in the moment. We are in the present moment, and we want everything right now. Our society reinforces this bias. And our human nature reinforces this bias. And that's why it's a very complicated job, lateralization, because it's something where relatively little happens. Although we still have big oscillations, we have ranges which are very interesting to work on. But that doesn't mean that emotionally we have news and we wait, and it's exhausting. And during these periods, we try to exhaust ourselves. And that's why the management of emotion, it also has to be learned. It has to be worked on. By confronting yourself with this type of thing will help you progress in many other things, because precisely investment, trading, and understanding the general economy, for me, these are passions in which I have learned enormously. I have progressed enormously, and which serve me in everyday life, whether as an entrepreneur, as a developer, as an investor, as a trader. These are things that continually serve me. It's really important to have these goals to manage these emotions, because goals are reminders saying, wait, but your objective, why are you reacting like that? What is happening? What was the trigger? And you will see that, especially when we have a bull run and we have phases of expansion like that, we lose control. We can very quickly lose control by saying to ourselves, here I have done more than 1,000%. Okay, I'm a genius. I'm a genius. I'm a genius. Except that when we're going to eat ourselves behind because we didn't take our profits, we're going to fall further down. And I think that for many who experienced a first bull run, taking profits was very complicated. It is for those who have done it, or even impossible for those who have not done it. And these are things that are very complicated to manage humanly, and that's why I'm talking to you about it now, because you say to yourself that you are managing the harder. I tell you no, the hardest part will be here, will be being able to take your profits, hence the notion of taking objectives, of having structural objectives, of being able to decide what you want to do, what you want to see and how long, and be able to tell you, okay, I need this, that to get there, and investment is a way to get there, trading is a way to get there, entrepreneurship is a way to get there. And I would like to finish on something related to entrepreneurship, because a lot of people stop at the following thing. I don't have an idea, I don't have any company ideas, I don't know what to do. when in fact there are ideas everywhere. Stop thinking there are no ideas. Look around, take a concept that works, improve it, and go for it. Finally, understand that there are thousands of things that are doable that exist. There are businesses absolutely everywhere that we can take up, that we can create. Why want to create a business when you can buy one that already works? There are plenty of ways of doing things in which we can add value, and don't stop at just, I will do it tomorrow, or I don't have to ideas, or I don't have time. Give yourself the means to act and start taking action today. It's really important. Act really quickly on these elements because that's where you're going to get value. This is where you're going to start building for yourself, and this is where you're going to start investing for yourself. You might be investing in crypto, you might be investing in BTC. Why aren't you investing in yourself at this point? Why don't you give yourself the time to evolve? Tell me what you think about it. Tell me what your objective is. Why not in the comments or the means you make available to be able to evolve? Is this something that resonates with you? And I will be looking forward to seeing you soon for a brand new video.